My name is Mark Clayton Southers. I'm the founder and producing artistic director of the Pittsburgh Playwright Theater Company. I direct, I'm a stage director, I'm a playwright, and every once in a while I do a little acting. Yeah, August, I met August several times in the 80s and in the 90s. I really got a chance to really get to know him in the late 90s. We were in South Africa together at the Grahamstown Arts Festival. I took a playwriting class that he was teaching at a college there, and we became good friends. I spent that summer of 1998 in South Africa and Alaska with him at the Edward Albee Theater Festival. So I really got a chance to get to know him. You know, he's been to our house. I started a reading roundtable called the August Wilson Reading Roundtable, which is now housed at the August Wilson House. And August came to the house, my house, and read with us one of his plays, and will continue to help nourish our local playwrights and actors, through his friendship. Absolutely, because I was a photographer for many years, and he encouraged me to write for the stage after I showed him some of my poetry. He told me he liked my style, and I'm like, okay. And it opened up a whole new world to me. Yeah. Well, to me, August's legacy in Pittsburgh for young folks is to let them know that hard work pays off and you can reach the highest platform like he has. I believe he's the greatest playwright, greatest playwright living, you know, and that's not for just America, that's period. He tells the stories about the common man. So that legacy, especially folks from Pittsburgh, know that it's possible to obtain your dreams. And because there's not a lot of playwrights, there's not a lot of people. There's a lot of playwrights in different cities, but in Pittsburgh, there's not a lot of playwrights, and it's something that people are like, wow, playwright, you can make a living doing that. And he proved that it can be done with hard work. He dedicated his life to his writing, and it shows because his works are so well defined, his characters are so well defined, and his writing is epic. It's poetic. It does two things. It not only entertains, but it also educates folks on the history of the African in America and their trials and tribulations during the 19th century, the 20th century. Yeah. I personally think his characters pushed him to that. You know, he's a wonderful storyteller, and he has these different characters telling stories. And I think at some point he migrated from poetry to the stage because his characters were talking so much, and he's writing so much down from these people that he's created that it just made sense for them to be able to tell the stories in front of audiences. I have three that are all in the same grouping at the top, and it would be Jitney, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and a piano lesson. I like the dynamics of all three of those plays. They're entertaining. Not to say that other plays are entertaining, but they're a good break-in point for folks. And Jiminy Ocean's pretty close up there too. But the people in the business always say their favorite one is the one that they're currently working on. You know what I mean? Because there's so much to commit to memory and to digest that it lives within you, and it makes you think about your not only your ancestors, but your relatives, you know, because you see your uncles and your aunts and your cousins and your grandfathers and these characters, mothers and fathers. So it heightens your awareness to what's going on because you feel connected through these voices. I can only give you my impression. I don't know the reason, but I know as a playwright, when you start out to write a play, sometimes the play takes on a life of its own and you have to follow the lead. I mean, it's your conscience. It's things that you've created, but it can go in different directions. So it could have been, that could have been a case. Also could have been a case that when he wrote that play, it was early on and he may not have been envisioning a cycle. Although his brother told me that he always envisioned doing a cycle. Actually, it's huge. And I'm actually surprised that it happened. I'm glad that it happened, but I was surprised that because there was a lot of places trying to get his stuff, and I think it's great that Pitt got it, University of Pittsburgh got it. I think that for scholars, it'll be a great destination. So when they do come to town, they can not only see the archive, they can see his childhood home. They can see the American landscape exhibit that Janice Burley Wilson put together at the August Wilson Center, which is beautiful. The home, his house is beautiful. We have murals in the Hill District of August and Aunt Esther and Black Mary. There's tours available that Dr. Kimberly Ellis conducts, August's niece, and Chris Ross conducts, and myself conduct, where we take folks to 10 to maybe a dozen different locations that are tied into the plays. So I think it, you know, and Dr. Shannon out of DC does the colloquium, the August Wilson Society. They do their colloquium here in March, and they do it, I think, biannually. So it's a great time for scholars to come to the city and have multiple things to do in relationship to August Wilson. I think it's building on his legacy, and it's making Pittsburgh a major destination for all those who love and want to honor August Wilson. I always like to talk about August Wilson's effect on Barack Obama being elected as the first African American president in modern times. You know, August plays have been on Broadway and regional theater, and Broadway's nice, but regional theater has such an impact because it's spread out. It's all over the country. And his plays have been produced at Penumbra Theater, St. Louis Black Rep Theater, where they've done the whole cycle. August had personal relationships with these artistic directors. But even in the regional theater sense, the white theaters, and you know this, if you've been to a regional theater, the audience is primarily white. It's primarily a white audience. And when I say primarily, other than cities like Atlanta or Philadelphia, even Cleveland, the audience is probably in the 90 percentile range, Caucasian, probably higher, probably 95%, I wouldn't hesitate to say, except for those cities I mentioned like Chicago and Atlanta. But in the regional sense, for the last 30 plus years, August Wilson's plays have been done on the regional level. with huge audiences, sellout shows, extended runs. Jitney ran for 2 years. It even went over across the pond, and it won a major award there. White folks and Black folks view things differently, and that's just the way it is. It is what it is. For Black folks, African Americans, August Wilson's plays remind them of their relatives. Oh, that's my uncle, that's my cousin, that's my granddad. He sounds just like my granddad, you know what I mean? And that doesn't hold true for the white audience. For the white audience, it's a different exposure. They're permitted to be a fly on the wall, per se. And they're sitting in a room with these actors, and they're saying different things that normally they wouldn't be privy to. They're not going to be in a jitney station sitting around. They're not going to be in a boarding house sitting around. You know what I mean? So they become flies on the wall. And during that time, when they're flies on the wall, they are being exposed to Black life in its rawness, and all our joys and all our triumphs, our sadness. They're being exposed to that in a major way. And because of that, I believe that a large percentage of them have a better appreciation for Black life, Black culture. So when it came time to go to the voting booth, to elect Barack Obama, I think these people who have been exposed to August Wilson's works for the last 30-something years had a better appreciation, and allowed them to help, along with us, vote him into office. So I think that August had an effect on Barack Obama's election in a major way.